The Central European University, funded by billionaire George Soros, says it has been forced to move out of Hungary. The CEU's legal status has been in limbo for more than a year, since changes to a new higher education law. Critics of Prime Minister Viktor Orban say the legal challenges deliberately target the CEU on the backdrop of a long political and ideological feud between the Hungarian Prime Minister and Soros.
An American institution that has been here for 25 years and is accredited in the state of New York has been forced out of the country by a state that is an ally of the United States.
This decision marks the end of 3 decades during which the CEU has been a gateway to the West for thousands of students from the former Eastern Bloc countries. The institution, founded by billionaire Soros, aimed to offer them US-accredited degree programs. The European Commission has taken Hungary to court over other issues related to the rule of law and democratic standards.
Over the past several years, independent newspapers which have been dismantled and their employees fired in Hungary. More in our next report.
This is the office of Hungarian newspaper Népszava, which translates as Word of the People. Currently, it is the only independent daily newspaper in Hungary. The other two, Magyar Nemzet and Népszava Csak, were shut down. Officially, it's due to lack of finance, but it's suspected that the real reason is for printing criticism of Viktor Orban. Gavor Horvat, Népszava's editor-in-chief, says that 2 years ago he was working as an editor for the opposition daily newspaper Népszava Csak. The publication's employees were all fired under curious circumstances.
We were supposed to close on Friday evening and start work on Sunday morning in a new office. We packed all of our belongings and left the office at 11 p.m. Then on Saturday morning, out of the blue, we received letters delivered to the doorstep of every employee that we are not supposed to come to the office on Sunday because we are temporarily closing the newspaper.
The journalists were critical of Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban and his political party Fidesz. They were also investigating financial fraud committed by Hungarian oligarchs.
We wrote about what was happening in Hungary and in the world. We had several very good, strong materials before we were shut down on how the governments of our country live and how they fly their helicopters to weddings and various events. Its shutdown was Viktor Orban's revenge. It was the most influential, the most powerful, the largest newspaper, and it was destroyed. People close to Fidesz and to Viktor Orban first bought part of it, then most of it, and then discontinued it for supposedly financial reasons.
Népszava Csak was shut down permanently. 2 years later, in April 2018, the same story unfolded at another opposition newspaper, Magyar Nemzet. Former employee Ondras Kosha said the newspaper was owned by media proprietor and opponent of Orban's policy, Lajos Simicsko. After the right-wing Fidesz party won parliamentary elections, the oligarch quit the media business and closed the outlet.
It's a Hungarian absurd again, actually. So the owner of Magyar Nemzet was for more than 20 years for the closest ally of Mr. Orban, the Prime Minister himself. But in 2015, they just split, and there was a really harsh personal conflict between them. Some of the reason was actually maybe of Russia as well, actually, and the growing Russian influence in the Hungarian politics. Mr. Simicsko just let Magyar Nemzet work as it likes, and it transformed itself a very, I think, a good, high-quality, government-critic daily newspaper.
The closure of Magyar Nemzet signaled the disappearance of independent media in the country, tells us Martin Gergely, the editor of the HVG weekly newspaper.
Those who are writing in favor of the government, they lost all their standards and all their niveau. They are openly distributing lies. They are openly violating every moral and ethical standards journalists should have. And you know, it's a cynical game, because if our competitor, a government newspaper, is violating every standard, and we try to keep ours, but they go lower and lower, the people, the readers, we'll say that the whole media is getting worse and worse.
According to Reporters Without Borders, the press freedom index in Hungary has dropped more than threefold. The country has gone from 23rd in 2010 to 73rd place in 2018. Reported by Angela Leshko, UATV.